StickIt is a 2D match moving toolset that allows you to stick things onto a moving or deforming surface. It can be used to add digital makeup and paint fixes in those tricky situations where a 2D tracker or manual automation is difficult. And by using the built-in assist feature, you can also track transforms, trackers, and corner pins, roto shapes, and even paint strokes onto the target surface, allowing you to estimate motion even as it leaves the frame. Unlike the awesome NuGEx Smart Vector toolset, StickIt allows you to use keying and masks to hold out any unwanted motion, allowing you to work on shots that would otherwise not be possible to do. And the fact that it tracks features rather than global motion estimation means that while it slightly reduces the overall accuracy, it also greatly reduces the processing time, making it much faster to work with. We have this plate of this lady, and we want to match move her skin on the face, but we don't obviously want the fingers to intersect with what we're doing. So what I'll do, I'll just quickly create a mask, put it into the mask channel here, and then just roughly create a mask around her fingers to keep those out, like that. And I'll move in here, just slightly adjust. It doesn't have to be perfect, just sort of a rough mask around the areas that we don't want. And so something like this. This is pretty good. And then I'll just hit analyze. And so now it'll start to track, and it's actually using the NuGEx camera tracker. Not for 3D tracking, but just for feature tracking. And it's using that data to calculate the motion of the plate. And so the camera tracker actually first tracks forward and then backward, but we don't really need that. So we can just hit cancel at the 50% mark here. So now it starts to track backwards, and we can just hit cancel because we don't need that. And now I have all these points, and just like the camera tracker, I can go in and say, okay, this point, I don't want that. It's moving in the wrong direction or something like that. So I can just right click on it and hit delete selected. And now that point is not being considered when I do the solve. So this means that any point or any motion that you don't want, you can just easily remove that. And so this looks fairly good. So now I can pick, just like the Smart Vector toolset, I can pick a frame that I want to use as sort of reference. Let's say I want this one as a reference. So now I hit set this frame. This is 126, and I hit solve. And now it works just like the Smart Vector toolset. So I can go in here and create some paint here, just to make sure that it's on all frames. And create something quickly here. And if the warp is enabled, it will just stick onto the plate, even as the fingers move in front of the skin here. So I don't really need to worry about that. And so here we go outside the frame. So I'll just have to check this on off to make sure that we don't cut the plate off. Another cool feature of StickIt is the keyframe assist. And to show you what that does, let me just do a quick roto around her eye here. And go into the keyframe assist pane here. And what I can do is I can track backwards, forwards, all frames, maybe limited to just 5 frames backwards, forwards, or in both directions. In this case, I want to do it on all the frames. So I hit all frames, and now notice that the roto will stick onto her eye, even as it leaves the frame. So let me go in here and do a roto around her lips. Just reduce the brightness here so you can see it a bit better. Maybe the other eye here. The eyebrow here. Maybe the ear. So as you can see, what it does is it creates keyframes over here. Let's say you want to, have the ability to modify the keyframes afterwards for the individual points. So what we can do is we have another option in here where we can say that rather than applying it to each individual point here, we can also just apply it to the transform. And that is the point, the transform in here. So when I hit all here, it'll do the animation in the transform here. So what I can do is I can go in here and change the keyframe of each individual point. Just like that. So now I only have 2 keyframes. So that's kind of assisting, right? And another thing, we can also do it for roto paint. So let me do just that. I'll create a grade node here and a roto paint. And let me just do a stroke here, and it should be on all frames. So if I do like this, apply, I have to remember to do it to all of the points. Let me move a bit here. All of the points again. And here. And so rather than being restricted by a single frame, this thing can be applied on any frame I want, without causing any warping and things like that. Another place where we can use StickIt is a situation like here, where we have a plate where we need to stabilize the water, but there's not really any features that we can grab onto. So what I can do is I can take the overall movement of the plate. And so inside the keyframe assist, there is something called global, median, and global average. And what they do is to take all the features that I've tracked and creates a median or an average of those. So with my translate selected, plot it into the reader here, I can then say all frames, and I have to invert it to make it stabilize. So now I have a stabilized version of that plate. Let me just add another transform here and scale it down a bit here. So you can see